What's up everybody, Dean Ellis from Dartech, and in this tutorial I'm going to continue on with Artisteer, and what we're going to go on to now is our layout, okay, which is the content section down here. Alright, we've covered off on our heading, we've covered off on our menus in the previous tutorials, and what we're going to look at now is our layout here. So if we click on any of these orange tabs here, let's just get to one of these column ones here like this one, we click on the button, brings us to our layout tab. Okay, now this will display your layout of your entire content area, not just the column. So just bear that in mind. This will lay out everything. Alright, again we can suggest a layout. I'm not going to go through that because it randomly selects the layout that you have, and it doesn't sort of defeats the purpose. But that button's there if you get a little bit lazy and you just want to sort of flick through that and go, yep, like that one, and crack on, go right ahead. Okay, our layout here, we have a number of different options for our website. You can see things change all over the place here. When you mouse over it, all these options we have. Okay, backgrounds, again, general settings. I'm going to steer away from that at the moment because I don't like any of those. I like the one I've got, which is a custom. That's our custom one. Again, it's a lazy man's opportunity. You can pick whichever one you want to have a layout and work from there, or you just work through it like we are at the moment. Our header can be sheet width or page width, as we've shown before. Okay, it goes all the way across. Right, obviously these settings were in the header section as well. You might have noticed in our position, our length button here, sheet width and page width. So there's no other options you have here. Okay, your menu, you can actually do the same with your menu and have your menu at sheet width or page width. Personally, doesn't bother me. You can have it there if you like that sort of stuff. And the footer, which is one of the most neglected parts of the site because we rarely ever see it. That's our footer down here. This section, it's not the little writing down here. Our footer is this one. When you click on it, see your footer options there. We can have our footer sheet width, page width, or inside sheet. I usually leave it the same as everything else and leave it inside the sheet. Our sheet width, okay, you can have a number of different options here. Now, a quick hint here, using the percentage options will move the width of your page to the width of the web browser, like 70% of the web browser. Now the problem with this, I find, is it can mess with some of your content and your layout of your page when you start seeing it in Joomla. Okay, however, if you're running a responsive website and you're trying to set up a website for tablets and iPhones and all those bits and pieces, which this site will actually allow you to do, if we look up in a responsive view up here, you can actually set your website up to see what it's going to look like on different objects, as you can see. Okay, pretty sexy little thing, and I'll cover more on that a little bit later on. As you can see, there's our phone layout and what it looks like on your phone. Okay, at the moment we're just learning desktop, how to lay it out and put it into Joomla on a website. We'll cover off on a little bit of the responsive view stuff a little bit later on. Very handy if you're building a specific one, and I'll go into how to set up, how to display whichever template you want depending on what device is actually being used to look at your website, which is a very handy thing to do. I might even get a guest speaker in to do that for me. Okay, so I'll cover off on that. We're just moving right along. Okay, our sheet width, I usually like to leave it set to 1000 pixels. Okay, if I set it to 1000 pixels there, notice it's much wider now. Let me just get rid of this option here. Now if I go to my responsive view and go to phone, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. You notice that? It's just wide. So don't worry too much about having it laid out with percentages. Alright, it helps with responsiveness and depending on people's screen sizes, but with devices I wouldn't worry too much about it. I usually like to leave it at 1000 pixels because in today's market, 1000 pixels is a fairly comfortable width of a website. Again, you can have your margin from your top. You can actually have it as at a minus arrangement, so you can bring it up a little bit closer to your menus. Alright, notice that. Or you can bring it way down past it and waste a whole pile of real estate, which I don't like to do. So I usually leave it as 0 pixels and just leave it nice and neat. Whoops, Okay, moving along to our margin, our padding. Now it's our padding inside from our sheet. Now if we just extend this, if we make this really exaggerated, notice how everything's padded right into side and you've lost a bit of real estate there. So just be aware that all your padding is it separates a lot of your text. Let's go back to padding and make that no padding at all. Right, so that sort of makes it, brings everything out to the side of your width. You don't really need this much at all. There's other paddings and margins and inside paddings that we use within the blocks themselves. So I usually leave that set to 0 and go from there. Okay, columns. Now a lot of people look at this and go, man, that looks great, I love 3 columns, I'm going to use 3 columns. But then they find they don't have the content for their website to fill out 3 columns. Alright, we can fix that and change that simply by going here and picking whichever one you want. Now you can have one with no columns at all. Notice there it is there. Or you can have a left column or a right column, or again back to 3 columns that we had before, or have both columns on one side. Standard layout normally is 3 columns with 2 columns either side with the content in the middle. Okay, and that's my standard layout for most websites. Makes it easiest to read, and I have a way of laying stuff like that. If you like to do something different, that's entirely up to you. Okay, we go to our column width here. Now again, we sacrifice, the wider we go with our columns, the narrower we go with our content area. Okay, so just bear in mind with that, we can again use percentages, but again, depending on how people use their browsers, it could mess up your layout of your content inside your columns. I find 200 pixels is more than enough for a column down the side. And you just have to bear in mind, notice here that I've gone to 200, see this image is now extended over. Just bear in mind that when you do create your columns, your images need to be the same width as your columns. Now there it's there, see how it's 225? That fits nice and neatly in there. So just bear in mind that you are restricted when you make your columns. You still need to design your images and graphics to suit your template size. Okay, our column styles. Now we can have a number of different styles here. We can have a line in between our columns to clearly delineate it. Either there, or what's this one? That brings it a little bit closer. Or we can have a clear background to delineate our columns, or ones with a line on them. So just to show this a bit more, I'm not a big fan of this, but we can use it. I'll select that option. Notice the slight difference in colour. I'll just exaggerate that colour a little bit. Okay, and now you can see the clear delineation background there. Some sites it works, some sites it doesn't. I'm actually a big fan of actually making the content of a website white background with a black writing, but that's just me. Okay, so that's how that works. Let's go back into layout. Again, our margins, we have no outline on our margins. See how we can move the margins to underneath the menus up here. That looks pretty neat. If we just click on that and go select that one, just go more options and bring that down to say 10. That's better. So you can really tighten up your real estate by getting things slightly overlapped and really integrating all the sites together. What else do we have here? New block. Again, not too worried about that. Blocks are basically what's inside this area here. That's a block. Okay, that section, that's a block. Not too worried about it. A new block is mainly for things like static parts of it. There's your block we just made down here. Okay, put some text in there, and that's a block. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. Joomla will put those in there for you with whatever features you want to show on your website. All right, what we will look at though is the block layouts at a later stage. Okay, and the widgets. All right, there's certain things you can put in here. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about this because Joomla will lay this out for you. You can position certain login areas. Notice the login blocks there. I wouldn't worry too much about it because again Joomla will do all that for you. And that's it for the layout section. Again, have a play with it. You can lay this out however you like. You can see you can overlap and do all sorts of wonderful stuff with your website. And yeah, if you like this tutorial, hit the like button and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And I'll catch you on the next tutorial. Bye for now.